Solace, 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 Solace.
All praises to the horizon, peace, wealth, and wisdom. It's the wise servant here, Mr. Solace Usia. And today I want to do this very deep video because many of you guys emailed me as well as inbox me. And you guys say things like, Mr. Solace, why don't you start your own language? And so I want to do this video explaining to you guys something very important about language. Now, I'm sure the reason most of you guys inbox me and email me that question, asking me why don't I start my own language, is because Brother Polight says he has his own language that he started. And so in that, I guess you guys assume he's wise and he has his own language. And so challenge yourself, Mr. Solace, make your own language. And so I want to do this video explaining to you guys that no man can make a language. Language comes with the tongue. It's a life thing. The life makes language. Man kind of falls into it unconsciously. Now, of course, he documents this language. This is what we call letters. It's kind of like us documenting it and passing it on to others. But language develops over time on its own. No man ever made a religion. No man ever made a language. Meaning you have many wise men documented in history. None of them made a language. And so a lot of you guys fall into idolization. Y'all idolize people. And so in that you can be told anything. But I want to be clear. Language is not man-made. And no man could ever make something that complex. Language I'm speaking of. Now language is way more complex than you guys can imagine. But I want to give you guys a little understanding. Because me saying that language can't be made, well, I could just be hating. And so I want to give you guys the information so you can fully grasp. Not to discredit Brother Polight, but just so that you guys can know. It's no need to expect wise men to create languages because that's not real. If a man tell you he created his own language, he's lying. He made that up. But you just have to be wise enough to know what's real and what's not. And so YouTube is truly not the place to learn because anyone can upload whatever they choose. Even some of you guys watching right now, you can upload anything you want. And so in that, if people, you get it? Meaning anyone can do this. So you kind of have to use your better judgment. Now, when you're dealing with language, this being the IPA, you can Google IPA. Maybe that'll help you get a better perspective of what I'm saying. Now, when you're dealing with language, language is not created by man, but it starts with the 5 sounds, which we know as the 5 vowels. A, E, I, O, U. But that's the letters of it. I'm speaking of those 5 sounds. And so, A, I, O, those 5 vowel sounds, this is how language starts. On its own. Comes with the tongue. And so, I, O, baby talk. This is how baby's first sounds are vowels. You can test this out if you want. Meaning my wisdom's not made up. It's real. You can see it in life. Go look at a little baby. Their first sounds are I, O, in that order usually. But maybe not. But it's definitely those 5 vowel sounds. Now my point of saying that is language starts like that. With those 5 sounds. And so then of course, man as he develops in his conscious, the same way babies develop in theirs. I'm speaking of man as a whole, like babies going, like an individual going from a baby to a man. And so like a baby that goes from a baby to a man develops in his language with no one really teaching him it. Meaning y'all children do not learn their language from you teaching them. You just speak, and so they eventually start to do it too. You get it? There was no moment where you sat down with them every day and taught them how to speak. And so this is my point. Everything I'm saying is real. Meaning language does not start with man. Or man did not make language. Life did. It comes with the tongue. And so the same way a baby wasn't taught to speak a language, but he just did it, so it is with man in a whole. Meaning, you can look at man in a whole, meaning mankind in a whole, and its, progress over time as a baby going from an adult. And so man started off with those 5 vowel sounds, I, E, I, O, Over time, the sounds were merged. I, and E, which is A and E. So they're merged. I, E, I. If you speed it up, you get A. And so now you got I, E, O, A. You get it? 6 sounds now. And so if you do the same with the E, which is the E, and the I, which is the I, speed it up, you'll get A, E. You get it? And so now you got 7 sounds. And so that just keeps happening until you get all the sounds that we have. And this is the beginnings of language. Over time, these sounds become syllables of full words. You get it? Those words become a bunch of words, sentences, etc., etc. At some point in time, man starts to document this language that he adopted somehow. You get it? And so when you see letters, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, this is just man documenting it. This is man lettering the sounds. And so this is his creation. But the sounds and the language man speaks, that is not his creation. It's just like numbers. Numbers are not man's creation. But him numbering, meaning him writing numbers, 1, 2, 3, he invented that from what was already, meaning you already got numbers, you already got geometry, which is numbers, and Excel is sacred geometry. You get it? Metatron's cube and Metatron's cube and Excel or Ruby, all these things are the same thing. And they all have their angles. They all have their sacred geometry to it. Geometry being math. And so, that's what I mean. Life blesses, all with certain things, like language. Man documents it. And so letters, symbols, of course, as man developed in his conscious soul, these things were added. Meaning instead of just having the sounds, now you had symbols for the sounds. You get it? And so in ancient writings, y'all see like they had like pictographs, hieroglyphics, like pictures. And this was their letterings, words, and things like this. Kind of like a baby. They don't draw in letters, they draw in pictures. Kids, before they draw letters and are taught the alphabet. And so man in the whole, no different. In early stages, he drew in his symbols for letters and words were pictures, hieroglyphs, same thing. And then, over time it developed. And so now you get letters instead of those pictures. You get it? And so all is developing. As the language is starting to develop, so writing is. And writing is just man documenting this language. You get it? And so no man-made language, that's impossible. I don't think y'all take a time out to think of the many dimensions of language. How could a man make a language? That is impossible. That's like disrespecting the life, or what y'all call God. God made language. You should know that. Ain't no way to get around it. How can a man remember every word and to then, you get it? When does a man have that time? Meaning, think of all the words we have and the many different renditions of it. How? You get my point? How would anybody else learn your language? That part. Now, I don't want you to get lost and say, man, I'm in the gang. We speak our own language, our own code. Yeah, but your language is already a language that already exists. You get it? That's what I mean. A man can't make a language. He can just take language that already exists and fumble and jumble it around. Make it cold. But for a man to create a language, impossible. Meaning, nobody created English. Who made the English language? What man? No man. If you say a person made the English language, then you're going to have to explain to me who made Old English. Because Old English comes before English. And it better be the same person. You better be able to say, well, who made Old Norse? And because all these languages, you see how language develops? You got Old English. That King James Bible shit. Excuse my language. And so y'all say, man, I don't understand the Bible because it's the way they speak. The English they speak it in us, it sounds like Shakespeare. I don't talk like that. You get it? But this is just Old English. Now we speak a more developed English. This is just language on its own, developing on time. Meaning if you take English and you go back down its line where it came from, going to Old English, all the way back, you will grasp, okay, every area in the world developed its language the same, with the 5 vowel sounds, and then they doubled up on it. It doesn't matter what the language is, but it just started that way, with the 5 vowel sounds. You get it? And then over time, it just develops into the many different languages that we have. But we really don't have a lot of different languages. Meaning the people that speak Arabic. Arabic is just a more developed or more modern Hebrew. Meaning nobody speaks Hebrew anymore. And so Hebrew became like Arabic. What do Jewish people speak? I forgot what they call it. They don't call it Hebrew, but I'm sure you guys know Hebrew, Sadlaks. The language they speak, all these different languages, they come from that old Hebrew language that we don't speak no more. Meaning the people in Saudi Arabia, in those areas where that story comes from, you get it? They speak a more developed or modern language of that old one. But nobody made up modern day Arabic language. No man can trace it back to an individual. It won't ever happen. Any language you name, it will never be traced back to any individual. Y'all never realized that, right? No language. Why? Language comes with the tongue. Life created language. It's one of the amazements for a man to take a moment and say, damn, there must be a God or a higher power because I speak a language. And we cannot trace back to a man who made this language. How did he get other men to speak it? That part. I'm talking the beginnings of language. It's like animals. You think one animal taught the rest of the animals language? No. They just speak. You see how deep that is? They just make sound. Same with us. We just make sound. It kind of just come with the vessel. You get it? And so it's a deep thing you guys have to grasp. No man can make language. When I heard Brother Polight say that, I kind of just overlooked it. I said, well, I'm wise, so I'll just be real with y'all. 99% or 90% of the things that Brother Polight and a lot of the other brothers say, I don't want to single them out, it's just made up stuff. It's not nothing that you can, it's nothing. It's just talk. I made my own language. I don't think you guys are supposed to take these things serious. Meaning, you can't tell no wise man I made my own language. He gonna laugh like, okay. You God? Like, how do you do that? How you do that? You got a language that don't got nothing to do with no other language on this planet. That's impossible. And you can't trace no language that we have to an individual. The people of that area just seem to talk that language. Same way the baby that was raised up in that household, he just seemed to learn that language. Nobody actually sat him down, no, and said, A, A, B, C. You get it? That didn't happen. He just speak. In fact, A, B, C, and writing, he learned all that after. You get it? Y'all learn how to speak before y'all learn how to write. And so Mr. Solace said, language started with the vowel sounds. Over time, men begin to document those sounds. We call them letters. And so again, kids learn how to speak before they learn how to write and spell. Because like I said, that's man-made stuff. And so you got to teach a man those things. Lest he wouldn't know them because they ain't real. Meaning they real because you can go to school and really learn it, but it ain't got nothing to do with real life. Meaning man don't need to know how to write and say alphabets to speak. If you think I'm lying, go talk to your 3-year-old. And then tell your 3-year-old to write down everything he just said. He gonna look at you like you crazy. Huh? Say all the ABCs. He gonna look at you crazy like, huh? I don't know how to do that with letters. I just know how to talk. Came with my tongue. I was destined to speak. You get it? Kid get real wise on. He said, I was destined to speak. What do you mean, shall I do? I don't know how to do that foolishness. And so I'm just saying that so you can get a reference to grasp. Ain't no different. Man made, symbols, letters, things like this. The life made the language. Man's letters and symbols is just him documenting that thing. Same with writing numbers. Man made that just so he can document, what we have as numbers. And so you have to grasp. As I said, no man can make up a language. I guess if y'all stop idolizing people, y'all can start to discern what's real and what's just talk. Now, I want to give you guys a little science so that you guys can grasp. I'm not just someone that uploads videos, and I understand history. I'm a master scholar. Any text you want broken down for you, just present it to me. I'll break it down for you. Master scholar, I'm a real scientist. Now, let's get into a little science so you guys, if someone may be watching, they may be a real scientist, they think I'm making up things. I go deeper than science is taught in school, but that's not to say I don't know school science. And so when you're dealing with science, so you have life, meaning physical life. And so if you ask a scientist, what's the beginnings of physical life? According to, the way y'all have it in science. Well, I'm sure they'll tell you. You have to start with matter and antimatter. This is the beginnings of physical life. Matter. You get it? And so when you're dealing with matter, of course you have atoms, atoms, molecules, cells, organisms, solars, galaxies, so on and so forth. You have many different levels of what we call matter, or physical life. Now, before an atom, you have protons and electrons. I'm not mentioning neutrons because this is just the neutral, meaning it's the balance of the two, so they won't corrode out, kind of like electrical work. And so proton and neutrons, they go together. Just when I say proton, you don't have to be like, oh, what about the neutron? I'm leaving it out on purpose. I'm trying to get to the point. Now, a proton and an electron is what makes an atom. Proton, neutron, electron. This is what makes an atom. But this is not classified as physical matter yet. You get it? And so now you have your proton and your electron. What makes those? Meaning, proton and electron come before atoms. That's what make atoms. Got that. Now, what level of life come before protons and electrons? Meaning, what makes protons? And so scientists have it as quarks. 2 up quarks, 1 down quark, or reverse. This is how you get your protons and neutrons. You get it? And so those quarks is how you get the beginnings of your physical life, according to science. Now, according to solid science, I say physical life starts before an atom. And so those quarks, or better yet, those proton neutrons that make up an atom, they have to be physical also. That's how do they make something. You get it? How does a protons and electrons make up an atom, but they're not physical? What sense does that make? But this is how science is taught in school. Meaning atoms is a part of physical life. Protons and electrons ain't, even though they see them and they classify them as something. But they say physical life starts with the atom. This is what scientists say. Physical life starts with an atom. Solace says, no, it don't. Physical life starts way before an atom. My proof that they're wrong is because they said a proton, an electron, and a neutron is what makes an atom. Meaning, those things is what an atom is. An atom is protons, neutrons, and electrons. Now, if these things is what make up the atom, and the atom is a part of physical life, how are they not? If you remove them, you don't even have an atom. You don't have it. Physical life. Case in point made. And so I did that so y'all can grasp. My science is a little more thorough than what's taught in school. Now, what makes protons and electrons? Quarks, as scientists in school say. 2 up quarks, 1 down quark. Just get your proton. Reverse it, and then get your neutron. You get it? And so they say quarks are not physical. They're right. Quarks are like jolts of light. Jolts, almost. And so these different jolts of energy become fixed, kind of like catching one another, becoming stable. This is how you get protons, neutrons, and electrons. It's the same with them. You can look at them, protons, neutrons, as fixed light coming together, kind of creating more of what we would call light or an atom. And so when you're dealing with ancient Kemetic science, same thing. The life starts off with Amun. None is in activity. This is why I didn't even mention her, but I'm sure you guys want me to. So the life starts with none. This is inactivity. You can reference yourself when you're sleeping with no dream, or you can just reference soundless. None is soundless. He comes after none. H-E-H. He. He comes after none. He is active. You get it? Active waters. None is inactive waters. He is active waters. You can reference those active waters to sleep with dream. Nobody involved, just consciousness awakened. Or you can reference it to sound, not sound, but vibration. None is soundless. He is vibration, meaning that soundlessness, vibrating. You can't hear vibration, but you can feel it. You get it? And so that's He. After He, you have Kek. And what Kek is a separation between that vibration and Amen, which is sound. Amen is sound. And so you got none, no sound. He, vibration. Amen, sound. Of course, sound is separate from vibration and soundless. Meaning vibration makes no sound, but so it's still active. But it don't make no sound. So it's separate from Amen, our sound. None, inactive, no sound. So it stays on that side as well. Kek is the separation between these two. Like your first horizon. You get it? The horizon is between night and day. Kek makes for that. On that level of life, meaning the beginnings of physical life starts with sound coming into existence. And so even on that level, you will still have your night, day, and your horizon, meaning that sound or Amen represents your day. Nun, he, your inactive waters and your active waters are your no sound and vibration. They make for night. Amen is day, they are night. On that first unseen level of life, which just consists of sound. And so no sound is night, sound is day. Kek makes for that horizon between the two. And that's your first level of existence. The unseen, the heard. You get it? After that, you get your spirit or your fog, your vapor level of life. Meaning, air condenses into cloud before it physically manifests to rain. And so that cloud or fog is like spirit or light. You get it? The spirit you are. And so the life starts as sound. That sound develops up into what we call fog or spirit. You can look at it as conscious and spirit before coming into body or manifesting into body. And so you get atom, which is an atom, or light. Amen, sound, first level of existence. All before him to him, sound. Atom, light. Tefnut. Shu and Tefnut is like proton and electron. That's all the two energies that make up atom, meaning they don't have it in the right order. It's Shu, Tefnut, atom. Nut, Yeb, Osal. You get it? Nut and Yeb, Nut being your sky. Cloud. I just said we breaking down the astral life now, the spirit, the fog, the cloud life. Amen, this is your sound, the first existence, your unseen. Now we talking about your seen, but ungraspable. This is how life manifests out physically. That's why I used air going into cloud, then physical water, then ice, so you can grasp. Life manifesting, going through its stages. And so those ancient Egypt gods are explaining that. Those forces of life manifesting forth into physical form as we explain, as we see it. And so, atom is your atom. Of course, Shu and Tefnut is what makes up an atom, your proton and electron. Then you have Nut and Geb. Nut being the goddess of the sky. Of course, you have cloud, fog in the sky. This is where rain or water comes from. You get it? Nut is the goddess of that astral existence. Your fog, your cloud. Of course, they're speaking of life physically manifesting. And so Geb is the seed, or where the seed comes from. They have him as earth, opposite of sky. Nut, Geb, they're opposites. One is the bottom, one is the top. Nut is the sky goddess. He is the earth, the ground. He's where the seed come from. You get it? And so, what is seed? Sperm cell, apple seeds, any kind of seed goes in the ground. And so, this is your Asa. He is the seed or the sperm cell. This is why he's always wrapped up in white with the stupid sperm cell head. He's the sperm cell. Isis is the egg cell. This is why she's always in red, or red is always associated with her, or the lower Egyptian deities, because they are the womb deities or the egg cell deities. The cone head ones, these are sperm cell deities. The cone heads and the bull heads. The horns representing, the ovaries. are the fallopian tubes. I apologize. The fallopian tubes. And so, Orsa is the sperm cell. Isis is the egg cell. Set is the separation, or like the horizon on that level of life, before that is manifested out physically. Your night and your day. And so, of course, you have Nephthys. She's just the lady of the house. She's the one that prepares the bodies to leave the duat. Isis, egg cell. Osiris, sperm cell. Then you get Set. Why Set? Why is he the horizon? Because that's going to be born out, separated. And separation of the two. So, then you have Heru, physical manifestation of Osiris. And y'all sperm cells that got eggs, y'all born out physically, and then y'all named. Ra, being that solar level of life, existence. And so it starts all over again. Meaning, a solar system's no different than an atom. If you look up an atom, oh, that was my son. Ah, peace and wisdom, guys. I got to go. But hopefully y'all grasp that. It's very deep.